Every morning, he would walk to the edge of his field, pick up a handful of dust, and let it slip through his fingers. It was a silent prayer, a desperate plea for a single drop of rain. But the clouds remained distant strangers, and the silence of the sky was deafening, echoing the emptiness in his heart and the growling in his stomach. Their journey was not for school, not for play, but for water. The idea of using it for the fields was a forgotten luxury, a dream from a wetter, happier time. The emotional toll was immense. Neighbors who once shared festivals and laughter now looked at each other with suspicion. Every bucket of water was counted, every drop guarded. Arguments would often break out near the distant trickling bore well. Ramlal saw the worry etched on the faces of his fellow farmers. He heard the hushed conversations about mounting debts, about leaving the land of their forefathers to find work in crowded, unforgiving cities. The fear was a constant companion, a shadow that lengthened with each passing rainless day. It was a crisis not just of water, but of hope and dignity. Young Meena should have been in school, learning about history and numbers. Instead, she was learning the harsh arithmetic of survival. Her dreams were not of becoming a doctor or a teacher, but of a day when the village well would be full again, when the monsoon rains would come and wash away the dust and the fear. She had returned not with pity, but with a plan. One evening, she called a village meeting under the old banyan tree. At first, only a few came, including a skeptical Ram Lal. They were tired of empty promises. They had seen officials come and go. Anjali did not make grand speeches. She spoke their language. She started by telling them a story about their own grandparents and the 5 ponds brimming with water. She described how ancestors captured every drop of rain, guiding it into ponds, wells. They did not see rain as a problem to be drained away. They saw it as a gift to be welcomed and saved. "The problem is not a lack of rain," Anjali said, her voice clear and strong. "The problem is that we have forgotten how to hold it. The solution is not in the sky. It is right here, in our hands, in our own history." A flicker of interest appeared. Ramlal listened intently. Anjali's words painted a picture he could almost remember. He recalled splashing in the village pond, which was now just a dry, garbage-filled pit. Over the years, they had let these traditional water bodies fall into disrepair, relying instead on deep, unsustainable bore wells that were now running dry. She then showed them pictures, images of other villages, just like theirs, that had transformed their dry lands back into green oases, farmers with healthy crops, smiling children near full ponds. For the first time in a long time, Ramlal felt a stir of something other than despair. Anjali did not come with government grants or large machinery. She came with an idea that they could do this themselves. "We will be the heroes of our own story." For years the pond had been used as a dumping ground, and they had to clear layers of plastic and waste before they could even reach the soil. Many onlookers were skeptical, muttering that it was a fool's errand. But as the small group toiled, something began to change. It was no longer Anjali's project, it was the village's mission. They were not just digging a pit, they were excavating their own history. As they dug deeper, they unearthed the old, baked clay channels that their ancestors had built to guide rainwater into the pond. It was a powerful moment, a tangible link to the wisdom of the past. Anjali was right. The blueprint for their survival was buried right beneath their feet. Alongside reviving the pond, Anjali taught them about rainwater harvesting. It was a simple, brilliant idea. Why let the precious rain that falls on their rooftops run off into the dusty streets? She showed them how to connect simple pipes from their roofs to small underground storage tanks, or to channels that led directly to the newly dug pond. Ram Lal was one of the first to install this system at his own home. He looked at the simple pipe with a sense of wonder. It was a small change, but it felt revolutionary. He was no longer just a victim of the weather. He was preparing to capture and save every drop that nature would provide. Then the wait began. The pond was ready, a giant, empty bowl. The channels were clear, the pipes were in place. The village watched the sky with anticipation. When the first dark clouds gathered and the first heavy drops fell, they ran out not to take shelter, but to watch water rush through pipes and channels towards the pond, their collective effort bearing fruit. Then, she showed them drip irrigation, a neat web of thin pipes with tiny holes placed directly at the base of each plant. The idea was simple. Instead of flooding the land, you feed the plant, drop by drop. Ram Lal was initially hesitant. The system looked fragile and required a small investment. But Anjali secured a government subsidy for a few pilot farms, and his was one of them. The results were astonishing. Within weeks, the drip-irrigated section was taller, greener, and healthier, with far fewer weeds. Ram Lal calculated he was using almost 70% less water, yet was on track for a much bigger yield. Neighbors came, touching the healthy leaves and staring at the dry soil between rows with disbelief. The magic was not in the water, but in the intelligence with which it was being used. This was a revolution in his own field. A ripple effect began. Farmers pooled resources to adopt drip and sprinklers, and diversified away from water-guzzling sugarcane into millets, vegetables, and pulses that used less water and fetched good prices. Anjali helped set up soil testing in the Panchayat office. For the first time, they farmed with data, understanding their soil and using fertilizers and water with scientific precision, becoming true, smart managers of land and water. They formed a village water and sanitation committee, a formal body with members elected from the community. Using a large village map, they planned their water budget, measuring rainfall, pond water collected, and groundwater levels from simple monitoring wells. Based on the data, they decided which crops to plant, how much water to allocate for irrigation, and what conservation measures to take next. Technology helped. A simple mobile app recorded data and shared it with district authorities, linking local action to a national mission. Crucially, the women of Bijalpur were at the forefront. Sita, once burdened by daily treks, was now a respected leader, driving hand pump repairs, ensuring clean drinking water, and promoting hygiene. They were no longer just carriers of water, they were its guardians, ensuring fair, equitable decisions for every household. When an upstream user diverted a stream, the committee used its recognized status to engage in dialogue, presenting their water budget and negotiating a fair sharing agreement. They were no longer helpless subjects of fate, but empowered citizens shaping their destiny, understanding that the pond, the wells, and the groundwater beneath their feet were a shared community asset, a sacred duty to protect for generations to come. Today, just a few years later, walking through Bijalpur feels like stepping into a different world. The cracked earth is gone, replaced by vibrant green fields of cotton, millet, vegetables. The desperate trek is now a story Sita tells her granddaughter. Meena no longer misses class. She is at the top, dreaming of becoming an agricultural scientist. Bijalpur's story shows the battle can be won, one pond at a time, by blending ancestral wisdom, smart innovation, and empowered communities.